mile in the sky sets the Rocky Mountains in the great state of Colorado, and next to the city of Denver sits its younger sister Aurora, where we find the Denver Motorsports Park, an oval course that features an 18-turn Grand Touring layout. Hello out there, we're on the air, and it's Grand Touring race day today outside the Mile High City. It's a cloudy and balmy mid-afternoon in the Centennial State as we welcome you to the Denver Motorsports Park for stop number 4 of the 2024 Flowmaster Grand Touring Championship, the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, lads of all ages, as we welcome you to the track with live coverage on the North American Sim Racing Network, and from high in the sky in the press box, my name is Troy Wright for the NASRN. 3 races at 3 vastly different racing facilities. We return to the Roval layout here at Denver, a 2 3/4 mile racing facility outside the Mile High City for our 4th race of the 24 campaign here in the FMGTC. They say April showers bring May flowers, and we're still right smack dab in the middle of April, but thankfully the weather has dried out, as dry as it has been for the last couple of days for us to get the race in here today. Still cloudy, still a little cold, damp, and wet here at Denver, but nonetheless, that's just going to be another factor that plays into these drivers and how they are able to attack this 3.75 mile course here at the Denver Motorsports Park. We are here for our 4th race of the season, coming off of our last contest at Papyrus. Nathan Orman and Dylan Matthews taking home the victories for GT Le Mans and GT Daytona, respectively, in the Duncan New England Grand Prix. We go down to the point standings for each class, starting with GT Le Mans. Reggie Fogelman, with his couple of good runs and his win at Daytona, is back in the points lead. Nathan Orman is behind him by 10 points, and it's 10 points behind Orman. We find Sebastian Palmer in 3rd. 4th is Zachary Fitzwater and Caleb Rose. They are tied with 220 points apiece, but with Zachary Fitzwater getting the pole here today, he supersedes that tiebreaker with 225, and Caleb Rose in the 5 car is 5th in the point standing. 6th, Jaden Russell. 7th, Riley Sampson. 8th, Skylar Taylor. 9th, Mike Vincent Jr., and rounding out the top 10 is Nathan Stapleton. Going back to Riley Sampson, he won the WASP Championship a day after the race at Papyrus, which he had a hellacious accident in between turns 4 and 5 at Papyrus. He flipped on Saturday, or he flipped on Friday and went to the champion's victory lane Saturday night at Daytona. And he's back in the saddle here today, getting ready to kick off his championship run, hopefully, his championship hopefuls here in the FMGTC. Then moving over to GT Daytona, Connor Monaco has been all but perfect in these first 3 races. The only thing he's missing is a victory, but he sits 45 points ahead of Dylan Matthews going into race number 4. Daniel Bouchard, your Willow Springs winner, sits 3rd in the point standings. John Stewart and Tatiana Nagora, 4th and 5th. 6th year Daytona winner Dustin Davis, 7th Colin Bear, 8th Blake Pavillier, 9th Michael Brown, and 10th is Griffin Lynn with 160 points, nearly double or half the amount of points that Connor Monaco has. Monaco ahead by 140 points over Griffin Lynn. And it's thankful that this race is only a 47-lap dash, because these drivers have to save some energy for in just a couple of weeks. The series heads down south to Mexico City for the Telcel Cinco de Mayo Grand Prix at the Autodromo Hermano Rodriguez on May 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. But that is then, this is now. It's that time of the broadcast again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go down trackside to get the most famous words in motorsports to kick off the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix in Aurora.
Drivers, start your engines.
The engines roar to life on the pit lane here at the Denver Motorsports Park, and we are just moments away from dropping the green flag for today's 47-lap contest. Your starting lineup for both classes on the left-hand side of your screen. Zachary Fitzwater sits on the pole for GT Le Mans in the number 62 Bass Pro Shops Corvette. Felipe Santos is to his outside in the 64 Eaton Jaguar. And moving over to GT Daytona as everybody rolls off. Factory fielded at number 71 of Logan Alexander leads Daytona to green, and Michael Brown in the CarQuest number 25 car starts alongside him in row number 1. field goes through turn number 3, one of the many trouble spots through this course. And taking a look at the track itself, go down to your track description, starting with turns 1 and 2. They're your typical oval corners there, banked at 12 degrees. But then turn 3 is the first really big trouble spot. Going into the infield, turns 3 through 14, all part of this infield course. And turns 3, 11, and 12 are the biggest trouble spots in terms of the infield course. The field goes through turn number 7, goes into the S's. A lot of elevation changes through this infield section. Coming out, turns 15 and 16 make up oval 3 and 4. Then turns 17 and 18, the Cartman chicane, is where we're going to be seeing plenty of action here in the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix. And then looking at your race analysis at the bottom of your screen, it's a 47-lap race around this 3 3/4 mile facility. Your pit window for both classes is between 27 and 29 laps, so just barely one pit stop is on the schedule. While nobody has won here in a touring car yet, Ryan Durrani won the MBCS race here in 2022, looking to capture a victory here today before he straps himself back into an MBCS machine in just under a month. He starts 36 for GT Daytona. As the field rolls around, there's Dylan Matthews, your last winner here. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but there's Ryan Durrani as well in the 016. Zachary Fitzwater, who has won here on the oval layout, not one on the road course layout just quite yet, but that could change here today. He's got the best starting position of everybody up front here. As the field goes through the Cartman chicane, got to go through the race's restart zone and get this race underway. Pace car makes way down the service area. Fitzwater and Santos will lead the field to the race's restart zone. Green flag is in the air. There it is. And we are live here for race number 4 at Denver. Santos already falling back. So they're going to be 3 wide going to the corner. This is not going to work. Fitzwater will lead them down. Nobody goes over the turtles yet, and everybody will make it through with ease. And they went 3 wide through there. I have no idea how everybody made it through. They're still 3 wide. Santos did not get to have a good jump in the outside lane, and he is quickly hemorrhaging positions in that 64. Palmer will go through the gears, and he's already up to second, making up a position. Same with your points leader. Santos continues to fall back, and Fitzwater got the best start of them all as he leads the field to the S's for the first time today. Everybody gets through for GT Daytona. Fitzwater will lead the field through the West Carousel. Now everybody remains single file for right now. 3 wide as Logan Williams rides the Lightning. He'll go on the blue turf. And he'll lose a couple of spots too. Palmer right on the back bumper of Fitzwater going through 14. And back out on the oval they go. It's a trouble-free start so far, but knock on wood, we have not gone through the Cartman chicane quite yet. But they're about to. And here we go. First iteration through the chicane. Fitzwater will lead the field through it. And we'll freeze frame right on here. Fitzwater will lead the first lap. And, oh, Michael Brown will hop the curbs. He is going to go around. It's a stack up in Daytona. Oh, a huge hit for Nathan Buchanan. Bouchard will get it in as well. And I apologize for us looking like Fox Sports here. But a massive stack up on the first corner, and Ryan Durrani was caught up in it as well. Michael Brown was the first one to go around. Bouchard, your Willow Springs winner with heavy rear end damage. And Nathan Buchanan, he smacked into somebody. 09, that's Colin Bear. Also with damage, Tatiana Nagura, also with a little scuffs. And that happened all right behind Logan Alexander, who leads the first lap for GT Daytona. And Igor Barreto finds himself in second on that jumble up. But it's not going to be another win at the Denver Roval layout for Ryan Durrani. Heavy front end damage for that Castrol number 16. It looks like the 43 of Alex Lozada may have got a piece of that as well. But we flip back to the front for GT Le Mans, where it is still Zachary Fitzwater who shows the way. And it looks like these three are going to be the class of the field so far. But I bet Bradley Ream has not had a whole lot of success in the first stage of the season. First three races have not gone well for the Boston Red Sox Corvette. He finds himself in that fourth spot as the field goes through the chicane once again. Single file for the Le Mans cars. And they're able to get through with ease. Now we'll see if the Daytona cars can. Starting with Alexander, who is looking to go 2 for 2. But Barreto is going to have a good jump, and he's going to go to the inside of the 71. Not going to quite get there. That 14 is definitely has a horse under it. The Mustangs looking to go 3 for 3 so far this season. So everybody who was involved in that accident comes down the pit lane and will likely retire. 99 and the 25 making their way down as well. You see all the front end damage from that 99 machine of Nathan Buchanan, who loses his control. Same with the 25, and Michael Brown will spin out. But back up to the front for GT Le Mans, it's been all Zachary Fitzwater, who's got the clean air in front of him. And everybody who was involved in that accident make it a 5-car melee for the first incident of the afternoon here at Denver. It all started with Michael Brown going around with the 25 and just a simple stack up. Looks like Roberto Crown Jr. will come out as well. Brown comes down. It looks like Bouchard, Bear, and Crown Jr. will survive the accident, but everybody else has retired. The 25, the 99, and the 16 will go behind the wall. They've retired from the race here today. Fitzwater leads them through Cartman once again, and 06 might have a little bit of a pep in his step. Fogelman just a little bit faster than Palmer going through turns 18. And now with these cars having some issues in the opening lap, it's going to set up some early lap traffic for Zachary Fitzwater. So go through turn number 3 for the 4th time today. Underneath the 20 is trying to go to 06. But Fogelman can't quite get underneath Palmer in time. He's still going to be on the back bumper of that 20 machine. It's Corvettes 1 through 4. Then it's Santos who's 5th. Looking to become the first Jaguar winner this season. Of course, most of the GTLM field is made up of Corvettes, and that's why Corvette has won the first 3 races of this season. And the first winner this season of Reggie Fogelman finds himself in 3rd, looking to extend his points lead going into the race in Mexico City in a couple of weeks. Again, it's rapid fire here for the FMGTC, a race here today in Denver. Then you go take a little bit of a break here until May 5th, where they go to Mexico City for the Telcel Cinco de Mayo Grand Prix. And then after that, it's a long wait until the Canada Day Classic at Mosport. And then right after Mosport, the Firecracker at the Glen only 5 days later on July 4th weekend. And then after that, we're past the halfway point through the FMGTC opening season once we conclude the Tim Hortons Canada Day Classic at Mosport. And then after that, it's just monthly races. And we got the Old Spice Wisconsin Grand Prix at Old Spice in August. Then the Thornton 13 at Thornton in September. October is the Long Island Fall Classic at Bridgehampton. Barber Motorsports Park sees the Spam Grand Prix of Alabama in November on Thanksgiving Day. And then on Christmas Day, we return to the Golden State of California for the California Christmas Classic at the Riverside International Speedway to conclude the inaugural season of the Flowmaster Grand Touring Championship. And threaded through that is the 4th season of the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Gavin will fall off track in the 22. We'll check back in here for Daytona, where Logan Williams once again falling off pace in that 6 car. He has not had a good opening couple of races, and it looks like he may have suffered a mechanical failure, because he is just way too darn slow in that 6. We had a similar failure at Papyrus. It's all gone downhill for Logan Williams in that 6 machine. And again, he is just running exactly with the 71 and the 14 in front of these Daytona guys. And Williams will go to the outside and allow the 71 and the 14 to pass. Allowing a slower class to pass you, it's not what these guys want to see. And it's going to be dangerous if Alexander can't make this pass in time going into the chicane. Well, Barreto might be able to duck underneath him. They're going to make a little bit of contact going through Cartman. And Barreto, using the chrome horn, will knock the 71 out of the way. And the Valvoline number 14 machine out front, using the bump and run strategy on lap 6. Hey, who said the bump and run was outdated here in this day and age? As Bradley Ream is about to put the bumper to the back of the 06. He just ran his fastest lap of the day. Although Fitzwater is the fastest on the track, and Fogelman will shut the door on Ream. The fastest driver is the 060 of Matt Lagasse. As coming up behind Fitzwater is that 20 of Sebastian Palmer as we work on lap 6 here at Denver. It's been an action-packed race so far, especially in the Daytona class, but up front, Fitzy has led the way so far, leading all 6 of 6 laps. But going back to the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, we will be returning to action on May 15th. More of that in the coming weeks. Of course, the Smokey's Best Damn Garage Daytona 500 coming into play. That will be on May 15th. And then we will be back here at Denver for the MBCS for the Coors Banquet Denver 300K on August 30th. As the 4th race in the chase here for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series Championship. Seems like a long ways off, but trust me, time flies when you're having fun. And time flies when you're covering motorsports. And Sebastian Palmer, his car's flying around here at Denver. He was within half a car length on the 62. We'll see if he ducks down low going into turn 3. He will. To the inside of Fitzwater goes Palmer. But he has to duck out of the gas to not make contact with the 62. He could have gone down a little bit lower, but he would have gone flying off the turtles. And that is something that these drivers do not want to do. They did that a little bit in practice. Now Fitzwater continuing to lead, showing that experience on the road courses. He was in the thick of it for the race at Daytona. Struggled a little bit at Willow Springs, and then just didn't really nail the setup too well at the at Papyrus. But here he is. He got the pole position. He got the track position he wanted. Albeit we've got a pit stop in the next couple of laps. But he should be in a good position to win here today. Not the next couple of laps, the next 20 laps or so. The pit cycle will officially open for the only time today. We go back to GT Daytona, where still this 6 car is holding up this pack. Matt Lagasse will go to the outside. He's pushed out of the groove there by Blake Bavillier. Williams continuing to hold up this 14 machine. Again, that's 2 races in a row. He has just not had the ability to really just get around these guys and compete with the Lamar. So they're just really not nailing the setup, and I don't know what is going on with the 6. It's weird because he did start 7th, but he just faded all the way back into here. So some sort of mechanical failure on Logan Williams' car. Again, 2 races in a row is just really, really absurd. But speaking of absurd, Brad Stover have barely mentioned his name all season as he's fighting for this lead. But Igor Barreto, now with the clean air in front of him, will pitch his sail. He's trying to set sail away from these guys, but Stover within a car length of him, trying to outbrake him, going through turn number 6. Through the S's, the Daytona cars will go. Already losing touch with the Lamar field. Go back and see as Fitzwater will come out of turn 14. There's Bouchard, who's in the middle of oval. Now he's in the middle of oval 1 and 2, so still plenty of time for Fitzwater to catch up to this 8 car. Probably before the opening cycle of pit stops. Something happened with the 88 machine of Josh Harmon. Looks like he had to pit for something. Don't see any mechanical failures for that 88, so I think he's just off the pace as well. But right now, flipping through the field as we work on lap 9 of 47. Barreto continues to hold off Stover. There's Skylar Taylor. She was in the thick of it for the race. That was eventually won by this cat right here of Nathan Ormond. Ormond just not having the track position, but this race is a race of attrition, regardless of how short it is in terms of fuel mileage. Still a race of attrition here at Denver. So plenty could still happen, but doesn't look like Ormond is going to go for 2 in a row. Same for Mike Vincent Jr., who was decent in the beginning of the race at Papyrus, but now finds himself very deep in the field in that 16th spot. Owen Miles and Riley Sampson, they run nose to tail as well, the 2 competitors for the WASP Championship. We're also caught up in that accident. The only really big accident at Papyrus was the 36 going upside down. But he is not having a too good run so far in this one. Sits 14th, 2/3 of the way through the field, but still plenty of time to go in the race. We're only on lap 9, so only a 1/5 of the way through the race so far. And Zachary Fitzwater continues to lead for GT. Lamov not had a lead change just yet. Palmer trying to change that in the 20. But I think Fitzwater's team has really nailed the setup, and plus his prior experience at Denver, really just showing how good of a racer he is. Again, Palmer is just a rookie, but he has been in contention for a couple of these wins. He ran second to Ormond last race at Papyrus, and he is once again in the penultimate position as the cloud's starting to move away a little bit. The sun's starting to peek out just a tad here. And it's great to see the sun starting to come out, heating this track up. And once the track heats up and rubber starts getting put down, these guys are going to be sliding and trying to find all the grip they can, especially once these BF Goodriches start to lose their wear. But everybody in Daytona running single file at the moment. For GT Le Mans running single file. GT Daytona, however, is still a battle of its own. And Connor Monaco, we mentioned in the pregame or the pre-race show how good he was in the opening couple of laps, in the opening 3 races, how it was nearly perfect. And it's not the case today. Currently running really deep in this pack. All the way back in the 32nd position on the racetrack, so about the 11th position for the GT Daytona class. Williams continues to fight his race car. This field goes through Cartman once again. Palmer just trying to find anything he can to get around Fitzwater. But the last couple of laps have really just been equal between these guys, with Fitzwater having the jump on the gun off once again. He's running 2 seconds off of what he was running, and Palmer might have a good run. These guys running nose to tail are moving away from the 06. Seb could have a shot here, but he's just not able to outbrake Fitzwater. They're starting to pull away a little bit from Fogelman. So it's making a 2-car tango for the race lead. But now the fall off starting to really come into play. Fitzwater, like we said, had his fastest lap on lap 3, but now it's been a 2-second fall off. And he's starting to fall off a little bit more, so we're starting to see the wear starting to go. But it looks like Fitzwater's had an all-run car. He's got the long-run car. Definitely had the mid to low-run car. We'll see if Palmer's machine starts to dig in a little bit here. It's a wad back in here all the way between Dustin Davis up to Brooke Paquette. They're fighting for position back in here. Everybody in Daytona. It's allowed the top 2 to pull away. So a similar looking race here for Daytona, where the top 2 pulling away. Igor Barreto, who will be a rookie in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series this season, driving for his own team, Titan Fury Racing, making its return to NR, making its inaugural debut on the North American Sim Racing Network. And of course, Brad Stover, one of the Titan Fury drivers back in the old days of the Chick-fil-A Cup Series, showing how old I am, talking about the Chick-fil-A Cup Series for the NRLOA. It's a former driver fighting against his former team owner. And Brad Stover just looking to have a good run here today, as is pretty much everybody. We're still in the early stages of this one, and for the Daytona or the Le Mans lead, Palmer trying to go to the outside of Zachary Fitzwater. Fitzwater's got the edge going through the east chicane. Palmer might have used up a little bit of his stuff trying to go after Fitzy. It remains back in second, but going through the west chicane. Not going to try anything just yet. He had an edge going into the infield section through 3. But Fitzwater just really good at outbraking guys through the corner, especially when he's got the dominant lane. But Palmer's car we mentioned that we might see it come in. But now we're definitely starting to see that 20 car come alive. And now, with Fitzwater close to catching up to lap traffic, Daniel Bouchard is going to be a moving chicane. Same with Colin Bay, ran the 33. And I imagine Fitzwater is going to catch up to Bouchard before this opening cycle of pit stops. So the field exits through Cartman. And now Fogelman is going to be right on the back bumper of the 20. Fogelman might have an opportunity to snag second away from Palmer going into turn 3. His car's starting to come into fruition as well. He's half a car length lower, but doesn't make a move. The top three once again pulling away, but Palmer trying to get back at a crack for the race lead. As Daytona will go underneath the start-finish line, it is still Igor Barreto with the race lead. Brad Stover second. Logan Alexander, who is the recipient of the Chrome Horn from Barreto, about 6 car lengths behind Stover. With the dogfight being for the race lead here in GT Daytona. Stover trying to cut underneath Barreto, but he's not able to get there in time. We watch the battle for Le Mans happening, a chicane ahead of them. The 6 car continuing to flounder here. It's a GT Daytona field trying to get around him. Bouchard just crossing under the start-finish line in the field, heading through oval turn 4. So they're going to catch Bouchard in the next 10 laps or so, well before this cycle of pit stops comes. Fogelman now is going to be behind Seb Palmer. The gap opening up another 1/10 of a second there between Fitzy and Palmer, as Fitzy's car still continuing to run on rails and Palmer's car starting to go away a little bit. Again, I think he used up a little bit of his stuff going after Fitzwater through turn 5. And now he's paying the price of it as a very hungry 06 Interstate Batteries Corvette, driven by the madman of Reggie Fogelman. Oh, Fogelman gets out of the groove there, going through 4. And just like that, these guys starting to lose control here. Good news for them, the grip's starting to come back as the cloud cover returning. But Bradley Ream right behind him couldn't quite take advantage of the 06's predicament. And first through fourth remain as they have been throughout the first 14 laps. In case you were just tuning in, only a single incident in this race so far. On lap number 1 with the GT Daytona cars getting together, going through the Cartman chicane. But ever since then, it has been smooth sailing in this race so far. But now Brad Stover, the race driver, getting around the race owner, going through the S's. Barreto trying to get him back. And Barreto will take the race lead back away from Barreto, or rather Stover. And Igor Barreto, the Titan Fury owner, back out in the race lead. It was a great chance there from Stover, but Barreto had the better opportunity off the crossover, and now that will bring him the 71 back into this battle. Now Daniel Bouchard has come down the pit lane, as Palmer will be right on the back end of Fitzwater once again. Bouchard with some sort of issue. He will come down. Palmer within half a car length on Fitzwater. He will go to the inside of Fitzy, but not have an edge. Oh, he is still trying. 06 wheel hops once again. Ream is not able to get around Fogelman. Fitzy continuing to utilize that clean air. As Connor Monaco and Tatiana Nagora fight for position. Haven't seen anybody go over the turtles yet. Even though we don't want to see a car getting airborne around here yet, now do we? But it's still Zachary Fitzwater who leads. Sebastian Palmer second, albeit by 3 car lengths. Or now a car length and a half, meant to say 3/4 of a car length. Fogelman, your Daytona winner, remains in third. Bradley Ream fourth. Felipe Santos, the outside pole sitter, fifth. Eric Monaco sixth. Seventh is the 7th car of Nathan Stapleton. 8th, Blaise Zebertar. 9th, Agura Sato. And 10th is Daniel Voiles. 11th, Daniel Georgi. 12th is Caleb Rose. 13th, Michelle Gavinu. 14th, Riley Sampson. 15th, the 59 machine of Owen Miles. So go through the chicane once again. 15th is Miles. 16th is your Willow Springs winner of Mike Vincent Jr. 17th, Jaden Russell. 18th, your last race winner here of Nathan Orman. 19th, Skylar Taylor. And 20th is the sixth machine, rather. Another poor performance from Logan Williams. And 21st is Roberto Crown Jr. into the 33. It's a three-car battle. It was a three-car battle for the moment for the Daytona lead. But it's still Igor Beretta, who has led all but 3 laps in this Daytona class. It has been the class of the field in that Mustang Super Cobra. We'll see if Barreto can get passed by Brad Stover. Stover back by nearly a car length. Oh, Stover really diving down low. Outbreaks the 14, but is late getting back on the gas. And will fall back into the clutches of the 71. Back up front, still all Fitzwater. The Australian native. It's Angry Fitzy. It's not Mad Max. It's Angry Aussie Fitzy. Or the Angry Aussie, rather. He continues to be the pilot light throughout this field. Palmer still has not been able to get around him. And it doesn't look like they're going to pass Colin Bear or catch up to Colin Bear anytime soon. So it looks like might be hitting lap traffic after the pit stops in the next 10 laps. And this has been a huge endurance race here, and just how long these laps are. We're already past the 30 or the half-hour mark through this race. As Stover will go underneath Barreto. Stover will have the run, and he will get it. And Brad Stover in the Rain-X Viper will go to the point. And the driver has passed the owner. We'll see if Stover will get him back in the next couple of laps. You know, myself, I am a proud user of both Rain-X and Valvoline, so quite honestly, in this battle, I don't really care who wins. But it'd be nice for a Viper to finally get a win here, as Barreto right on the back bumper of Stover. Looked like Barreto was going to fall back into the clutches of Alexander, but Alexander had to get out of the groove to control his race car. I tell you, turn 4, with just how oblong it's shaped, another really weird portion of this track. Again, this facility, it's narrow, it's got elevation changes. It's just such a unique facility that has just a ton of character. It's been a fan favorite with the MBCS, and it's a fan favorite here today. But it's single file through GT Le Mans. A couple of Daytona cars battling action. No, that's 33. The only Toyota in the field of Roberto Crown Jr., who's going to be passed there by Colin Bear. Those two fighting to stay on the lead lap as Fitzwater roars around turn number 2. Fitzwater continues to show the way. And we'll only have one pit stop in this race compared to the other 2 races where we've had multiple. Just to save some energy for the drivers and the pit crews before they go down to Mexico City in a couple of weeks for the Telcel Cinco de Mayo Grand Prix on May 5th. Palmer continues to show the way in second behind Fitzwater. Fitzy's still with the fastest lap, and now the fall off is to 3 seconds. So these guys are going to be screaming for fresh BF Goodriches, and already some cars coming down the pit lane. Nagora, Logan Williams, and the 056 coming down. Are we going to see these guys do an undercut and try and take 2 stops? And it looks like the 33 will. So it looks like we are going to have a multi-stop race. We'll see if Fitzwater will come down this time by. This is really going to shake up the strategy in this one. Fitzwater will not come down. Doesn't look like any of the Lamar cars will come down the pit lane. And they all make it through the chicane nice and easily, but that will provide some lap traffic for these guys in the next couple of laps. It's Micah Knapp, who was in the 056, also came down the pit lane. But now we'll see if Stover, Barreto, and Alexander elect to come to the service area. Working on lap 19. They are on lap 18. Stover, Barreto, the top 3 in GT Daytona. They will not come down. It's 3 abreast for the top spot. See if anybody else will elect to come down. It does not look like they will. So I guess everybody just trying to crank out as much as they can. Looks like we had another incident there. Coming out of the chicane. If there was, we'll have a replay down below. But now, this is bringing up a lot of lap traffic, starting with the 22 of Tatiana Nagora, who is just now coming out of turn number 14. Fitzwater and company into turn 12. So if they don't pit soon, Nagora is going to be right in front of these guys. But if they do pit in the next couple of laps, they won't have to worry about the lap traffic here. So everybody comes around. Nagora coming through the chicane. If they don't come down this time by, they're absolutely going to catch up to this Stewart's number 22. Fitzwater a little slow through the chicane, but they get through it with ease. Nobody comes down as we work on lap number 19. 19 down of the scheduled 47. Now just looking at the gap, there is Nagora in the 22 going into turn number 3. Fitzwater not quite in frame yet, but is definitely a lot faster than the stricken 22. Nagora was caught up in that first incident. She just came down the pit lane. While she's got the fresher rubber, she's still a lot slower than these GT Daytona, her GT Le Mans counterparts. Same with Micah Knapp and Colin Bear, as Knapp trying to get around this 9 machine. Knapp will do, having the fresher tires. Nobody for Daytona comes down either. And Owen Miles and Mike Vincent Jr. off track. And Miles is going to keep it off the tire barriers. I don't know how he was able to. I thought for sure those guys were going to end up in the tires and take each other out. But Miles gets put all the way back in 19th for GT Le Mans. He's not going to be happy with the 78. Taking a look at the bottom of your screen, it looks like Vincent Jr. got a little hot going through the kink between 4 and 6. And those two will be relegated all the way to the boondocks. Here's we approach the halfway point through today's race. Fitzwater downshifts, but everybody stays on the track for now. I think these guys are going to try and adhere to the single stop race, which you would think would make sense. They just want to have a single stop, but then they would be nursing their tires on the way back, and then it just creates a whole lot of chaos. I'm surprised that nobody is elected to do a 2-stop race. especially towards the front, because if you're a guy like Bradley Ream, come down a couple laps early, you're going to have to make a second pit stop. It's really wide going through the corner, goes to 0.6. You're going to take advantage of having a lot fresher rubber than everybody else. And this is a track where tire wear comes into play a ton. And Nagora now just came out of the S's. Colin Bear might be the first one to get lapped here before the cycle starts. But no further incidents quite yet. Aside from the opening lap chaos in GT Daytona, it's been a calm one so far, especially in GT Le Mans, but that can all change in a heartbeat. We know how things roll in the MBs or in the FMGTC. Nagora will go underneath Colin Bear through the chicane. They'll end up going single file. That is good for both of those drivers. Don't want another accident through Cartman, especially with the Le Mans cars coming through. But the cycle slated to open up in about 6 or so laps. Fitzwater continues to show the way, has led the most laps so far, and is looking to go wire to wire and do something that has not been done on the NASRN before and get max points. Because he would have to... So Fitzwater right now would have to have the fastest pit stop. He's got the fastest lap right now. Would lead the most laps. Of course, get the win. He already won the pole position. So as long as he can lead the most laps and get the fastest pit stop, and of course, capture the W, Fitzwater would get max points. I believe it's 120 points, which would be huge in his fight for the championship. But again, we're not even halfway through this race so far, so it's a long way to get there. But if anybody can do it, I definitely think Fitzwater can do it. He would be the first one to do it, honestly. He's got to get around Colin Bear first and Tatiana Nagora. And eventually Michael Knapp, but I think Knapp is going to be too far in front of these guys to get lapped. So I think it's just going to be Bear who's going to be the biggest issue in about 5 or so laps. But right now it's just playing the waiting game if you're a broadcaster and a crew chief. But I know the crew chiefs are crunching the numbers, trying to see when everybody can make it down. Because we're about to get past the halfway point here. Again, the max that they can do is 27. So doing some quick math here, they should be able to make it to the end. On lap 23, the most they can do is 27. So I would not be surprised to see these guys come down the pit lane in the next couple of laps, actually, because mathematically they can make it to the end right now. So we could see some guys doing some undercuts, could see some overcuts. Typically at a track that is as long as this, that is as long as Denver is, typically see the overcut work. So I imagine these guys are probably going to stay out as long as they can. In case you're just tuning in, Fitzwater's led every single lap for GT Le Mans. He has been contested, and there have been some points where the 20 is trying to get around the 62. But it's been all Fitzwater so far in this one. And then GT Daytona as Brad Stover has come down the pit lane. So the Daytona cars with some strategy. Same thing with Barretto, Griffin Lynn coming as well. And now the strategy starting to come into play. Barretto still in his pit box. He is still getting tires. Looks like the 66 will beat the 14 off the pit lane. Barretto will come out. We got to see if these Le Mans cars will come around this time by. 15:06 Actually, 14.81 for Connor Monaco. A blazing fast pit lap, or pit time rather. We'll see if Fitzwater will adhere as well, and he will. And it's going to be feeding time for these drivers. Everybody for GTLM coming down the pit lane. It starts off with Zachary Fitzwater. We will follow your pole sitter. He trundles down the Formula One pit lane here at Denver. It's a long way down, all the way to that first pit stall. Fitzwater getting 4 fresh BF Goodrich tires, filling that gas tank full of octane racing fuel. And I think everybody for Lamar came down. Fitzwater, it's going to be close between him and Palmer. But Palmer having to adhere to a very slow 50-mile-an-hour pit road speed. And Fitzwater immediately blazing off the starting line. He was able to get the job done. Fitzwater with the jack dropping 14.75. Riley Sampson 14.67. 14.44 for Caleb Rose, but here's Palmer right out of the pits. We've seen in the past here in the NBCS where drivers running nose to tail out of the pit lane typically can make contact, and Palmer right on the rear end of the Aussie. We saw with Braden Perez and Aiden McCrow, and Palmer utilizing his fresh rubber dives to the inside of Fitzwater, and he will take the race lead away. Palmer had a slightly faster pit stop than Fitzwater. I think Caleb Rose had the fastest of them all, despite being in the back, and that 5 car is flying through the field. But now Seb Palmer with the short run speed, already about a second in front of Zachary Fitzwater, and Fitzy got completely blindsided by that 20 machine. Now the rest of the Daytona field coming off. Not sure where Igor or Brad Stover went. These guys got to be careful merging back into here. With everybody having fresh tires. Oh, there's Stover. Stover way out in front of Igor Barreto. God, how much of an advantage does he have? Actually, is it Logan Alexander? No, I think Alexander may have stayed out. We'll see what the intervals say in the next couple of laps. But right now, and Fitzwater continuing to fall back. Palmer shot out of a canyon in that 20 car. I think he might have a chance to put down the fastest lap at Colin Bear just as he's going to be able to. Bear is going to be right in his way, and this is where the lap traffic comes into play, and there's a huge wad. All these guys have to deal with the lappers, but Bradley Ream also with a beautiful chance, and Fitzwater did not have a good pit stop, it looks like, and he is falling all the way back in the 62. Whatever adjustment they did to that Bass Pro Shops Corvette, it was not the right one, as Felipe Santos falling back behind him as well. But now we'll see how Palmer navigates around Colin Bear. If Bear holds him up to the point where Bradley Ream can somehow get around the 20. Again, this is a very, very narrow racetrack with little room for error. And there's little room to pass here as Colin Bear is going to go the outside. But Palmer goes a little wide. Seb just trying to get around this 9 machine. He'll go down to the inside. And he will clear Colin Bear before they get to the carousel or to the chicane. Bear a little quick. I thought he was going to rear end the 20 coming out. But here, working on lap 25, past the halfway point, through the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix, Sebastian Palmer, looking for redemption, was in the thick of it to win the last 3 races. And now in race number 4, it might finally come to fruition. 2.5 seconds ahead of Bradley Ream. That last time by 1:48.894. It's not the fastest lap as the 0.6 machine put down a hell of a lap there. But still, the pace starting to quicken up, but that was probably the fastest lap we're going to see out all day from Sebastian Palmer. Quite literally driving like he stole it. Now going up to GT Daytona. Oh, 3 wide going through the chicane is Griffin Lynn making contact. He will go through the turf. But credit those drivers for keeping it straight. And meanwhile, it is Brad Stover who has a 5-second lead over Micah Knapp. But again, Micah Knapp, remember, he pitted early, so realistically it's going to be Igor Barreto who's going to come out to second. But still, Brad Stover with another whale of a pit stop himself. Now Palmer starting to catch up a little bit to Bouchard. And the 33, as just we say that, Daniel Bouchard will come down the pit lane. Looks like Bouchard's doing touch and goes. I thought the 20 was going to come down the pit lane, but was just slowing down for the chicane. But now Colin Bear, he's going to be a problem in front of Bradley Ream and Zachary Fitzwater. Ream is able to get around the 9. We'll see if Fitzwater is able to get around. No, Colin Bear utilizing that outside lane. He'll slingshot around the 40. Fitzy looking for the 2-for-1 deal going into turn 3. He'll get around Bear. Can he get around Ream? No, he cannot quite yet. Again, Fitzwater was really, really good on that long run. The only reason he was able to utilize the short run speed was because of the track position. But Fitzwater trying to get around this 40 and get back into contention to get around the 20. But still, that 0.6, the 66 rather. Brad Stover putting on a clinic. Still remaining, now it's a 6-second gap, making nearly a 7-second gap between himself and the 14 of Igor Barreto, who's got around the 56. But Barreto has got a lot of ground to catch up if he wants to get back in contention for this win. But again, no accidents so far yet. But still, we got 20 laps to go in this race. Plenty of time for these guys to have an accident, screw up, and do whatnot. As Palmer catches up to the 33 machine of Roberto Crown Jr. Now Bradley Ream continues to be in second, still 2.6 seconds behind the 20. Here with 20 laps to go in the race. Fitzwater, 0.3 of a second behind Ream. Catching up to him is one thing, but we've seen passing has been difficult. Can Fitzwater get around the 40 to mount a charge on the 20? And 20 starting to catch up to lap traffic for GT Daytona. But Igor Barreto right now in, or rather Brad Stover. I keep getting these two mixed up because Stover drove for Barreto in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series. But now Stover, the class of the Daytona field so far. Fastest lap in Daytona still belonging to Matt Lagasse, but Stover putting on a clinic in that 66. The 8 of Daniel Bouchard continues to trundle around here. I think Bouchard still amazingly is only a lap down, despite having to come down the pit lane about 5 or so times. Now Palmer has gotten around the 33 of Crown Jr. Now we'll set his sights on the 88 of Josh Harmon. And after Harmon, that's pretty much going to be it. So unless the 88 makes contact with a 20, I think it's going to be all she wrote coming around to 19 to go. And Palmer just needs to run 19, not even perfect laps. Well, now actually, hold up. Hold your horses. Bradley Ream closed in by half a second there. So Ream is definitely starting to come into play here in the 40. He's gotten ahead from Fitzwater a little bit. Fitzwater settled in third. And Ream, if he can get around the 33, he's going to get him a little arrow loose. I didn't realize you could get somebody arrow loose at 50 miles an hour. But this is NR 2003 we're talking about. Ream is coming. Ream just put down not his fastest lap of the day. He's still a second off from his fastest. But Ream definitely putting down some serious rubber. He and Palmer, he's only about 20 car lengths away from the 20. We'll see what the intervals are going to be this time by, but I think Bradley Ream definitely catching up to this Napa 20. Time will only tell to see if he will be able to catch up to him, but in here, I don't know if Brad Stover is going to be able to get caught up. He still has a 7-second lead, so Barreto was able to close in a second, but he's still stuck behind the 6. Now he's able to get around him. Another 6 is going to hold him off. So I think this is going to be all she wrote for GT Daytona, with Brad Stover taking home the win. So far, he still could have a mechanical failure. There could still be a million things, a million ways to kill him. But it might be all said and done at the moment for Brad Stover in that 0.66. But the interval here for GT Le Mans, still a 2-second gap between Palmer and Ream. Now the gap really starting to open up between the two cars. Harmon is going to be lapped this time by, but after that, I don't know if they're going to catch up to Brooke Paquette. If they catch up to Paquette, they might catch up to the Daytona leaders. Again, time will only tell. But it might be Palmer's race to lose at the moment with 18 to go. So we could have an accident that could put a slow car in the racing groove. You know, Daniel Bouchard has been a little bit of a chicane, mostly for the Daytona drivers. We could see him be a little bit of a pest for Le Mans as well. I just don't know if Palmer's going to catch up to the Daytona field or not. Again, 18 to go, closing in on 17 remaining. Just might be. I just don't know here. You never know. But nonetheless, we'll do a full field rundown real quick. We'll see what the interval is this time by, and then we'll do the full field rundown. But first through 10th are Palmer, Ream, Fitzwater, 64 machine of Felipe Santos, and Eric Monaco at the stripe. It's down by 0.2 of a second. It's not the best, but it's certainly not nothing. But it's Palmer, Ream, Fitzwater, Santos, Monaco, Sato, Taylor, Fogelman, Voiles, and Zebratar, the top 10. The top 20, the top 20 for GT Le Mans are Rose, Stapleton, Georgi, Sampson, Gavinou, Russell, Ormond, Miles, Vincent Jr., and the 6 of Logan Williams. And then 21st is the 37 of, or the 33 rather, of Roberto Crown Jr. And then in GT Daytona, oh boy, this is all but just is all but over here in GT Daytona, with Brad Stover putting on a clinic. He's ahead by six seconds over Igor Barreto. And after Barreto, it's actually going to be Bradley Bavillier in the 11. Shout out him. And Griffin Lynn with his best run of the season so far. Logan Alexander right behind him. Then it's Juan Rodriguez in the 75. Micah Knapp in the 56. Matt Lagasse in the 60. Connor Monaco in the 21. The 98 of John Stewart. The 22 of Tatiana Nagora. Dustin Davis. Dylan Matthews. Alex Lozano. Brooke Paquette. And Josh Harmon rounding out the field. And of course, the 3 cars knocked out in that first accident. Ryan Durrani, Nathan Buchanan, and Michael Brown in the 25 machine. And that is your full field rundown here in the last 16 laps in this one. The race lead up by another 0.8 of a second. Or 0.08 of a second, rather. Bradley Ream trying to close back in on the 20. But he just had such a good run after the pit stop. And now he's going to catch up to Josh Harmon. And after Harmon, ooh, he might catch up to this Daytona field, actually. Again, with all these guys going double file through here, it's not out of the question, but it doesn't appear that we're going to have any contest so far for this Daytona lead, and it looks like Brad Stover, if he can keep it clean for the next 15 or so laps, he will undoubtedly be the winner of the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix here. But Palmer, if he can get around Harmon, then he's just got plenty of time to try and slow down the pace a little bit, not to the point where the 40 of Ream can catch up to him, but trying to make it where he avoids catching up to those lap cars, because once you catch up to Brooke Paquette, it's like potato chips. It's just one after another, and it can be sickening and sickening. Nothing too much to write home about so far in this one. Palmer going to catch up to Harmon in the next couple of laps at the stripe. Now the gap is increased by 0.2 of a second. So Palmer, if he can get around this 88 with ease, he should be good to go. Have a pick between himself and Ream for the most part. He's going to go down to the inside. He won't hit the turtles. Harmon gives him just enough room, and Nagora and Paquette getting together. I tell you, that scared the crap out of me, folks. Nagora is going to be out of this race, and Paquette is going to be slow in front of these drivers. I tell you, I audibly jumped at that one. That scared the bejesus out of me. But Paquette will get around, and I think that she's going to go off the racetrack in time to where she's not going to be a factor for Palmer. I don't know if you... I wish we had a reaction camera in the booth, but cutting to that was just a finger slip by me, honestly. But I audibly jumped there. And our 2003 jump scares here. And now the 56 is Micah Knapp. Remember, he came down the pit lane early, so he will come down the service area now. He might come into play here. But Paquette downshifting, and she will come down the pit lane undoubtedly, probably to retire. See the replay of that down your screen. An accident in turn number 5. Nagora still on the pit lane. Same with the 6. As Palmer comes down the pit lane. Harmon, the pick between Palmer and Ream. And it doesn't look like anybody's going to beat the 20 off the pit lane. Now the gap back to underneath 2 seconds. So if Ream can just get around this 88, he might have a halfway decent shot. Closing in the late stages of this one from Denver. Again, it's been a lackluster couple of races here. Of course, Papyrus, we had the flip in the in the chute. But of course, that was just based off of speed. And now in this one, it's really just been based off of tenacity and hitting your marks. You know, Daytona's always a free-for-all. Willow Springs is always, you know, just that track is weird. Now we've come to a couple of tracks where, okay, these guys have raced here. Like, you know, it's your standard Roval track. You know, it's not really too weird. But now we've got the next couple of races that tracks that we go to are going to be insane. Still have no idea how Mexico City is going to go, but that is definitely a race. Most sports, same thing. That's as crazy as it is in real life. Then buckle up, we're in for an adventure. And then Watkins Glen's insane. Old Spice races a lot like Papyrus does. And then Thornton is Thornton. We saw that with the Was. Bridgehampton is typically insane as well. Barber, from the testing sessions we've had, is just going to be a free-for-all too. And then a Riverside might actually provide a perfect blend of really good racing and chaos, as we like here in the FMGTC. It's back to a 2.21 second lead for Sebastian Palmer, closing in on 10 laps to go in today's race from Denver. Fitzwater dominated the first part of this race, but after the pit stop it has been all Sebastian Palmer, and with no lap traffic in front of him, he looks to set sail, take advantage of the clean air, and ride his Corvette to victory. And the same thing with Brad Stover. Stover, way out in front, entering turn number 15. Hallwell the 14 is he's entering turn 15 right now. And the 66 is entering turns 17 and 18. So again, that is an 8-second lead between the 66 and the 14. Again, it's a shame strategy-wise that we had the only one set of pit stops. But just how long this track is. You know, 2 pit stops would just be overkill. You know, there just wasn't an efficient way to do it. So just have the one set of pit stops, which really just takes away a little bit from the race. Nonetheless, they might catch up to Lozano in the next 10 laps or so. They might. Keyword is might. And we haven't seen lap traffic come into play as much as we have seen in the last couple of races. As Harmon continues to hold up a couple of drivers in the Lamar field. I just don't know if he's going to catch up in time, especially given the fall off. Last lap was 2 seconds off. So Palmer might have some digging to do himself. So we're past an hour here through the race here at Denver. Mostly just consisting of us shuffling everything here. Shuffling the camera position as Brooke Paquette has rejoined the race. Doesn't look like she could factor in. Actually, Paquette and the 8 machine are going to be in front of Brad Stover. I don't think they're going to affect the 66 to the point. I think it might realistically just be the 8 of Bouchard who affects the 66. But no! Here comes the 66 down the pit lane. So Stover will come down and will give the race lead to the 14. I don't know if there was a flat tire. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the 66, but him, Griffin Lynn coming down the pit lane. Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. We might actually have a second set of pit stops here. We'll see if Palmer comes down this time by. I doubt that he will. He will not. It's just the 66 and the 1 coming down. I don't know about that, Slim Jim. You know, it was only an 8-second stop, so I think it might have been 2 tires. You know, they're just trying to take advantage of the tire wear and the fall off. But again, like, nobody else coming down. Man, I really don't know about that strategy. And Griffin Lynn is just going to be coming down right now. And if anything, that's just going to be more drama for Palmer to have to navigate through. I think he should be able to get around Stover with ease, but that is a heartbreak if this Daytona field does not come down the pit lane. I don't know why they would. They were past the halfway point when they came down. You would think that they would, you know, think that, hey, we've got the gas to make it to the end here. The only thing we got to worry about is tire wear. See if the gamble pays off. I don't know if he'll be coming down. No, he will be coming down. Same. Brevillier will stay out. And oh boy, it's gotten real zesty in GT Daytona. Igor Barreto coming down. Everybody else staying out. And it gives the race lead to Bradley Bavillier. And now, we'll see if Bavillier elects to come down. We'll see if Palmer will come down as well. He will not. We'll see if any of the Lamar cars will elect to take fresh rubber. Skylar Taylor will. Taylor will come down, try and short pit. I think Taylor might be the only one for Lamar. Try and take advantage of the new strategy. And it looks like she will be the only one to really come down here. But coming off there is Barreto, who will come off. Is Palmer still behind this 22 machine, the 66 rather. But now if the rest of the Daytona field comes down, it's going to flip back into the favor of Brad Stover. I just don't see them coming down. I don't know why they would come down. Skylar Taylor is out. I think the 59. I think the 59 came down, so he's just off the pace with his incident. We'll see what they say. We'll see what the doctors ordered. This time by Bradley Bavillier. We'll see if he comes down the pit lane. He comes through Cartman. Does he elect to go straight? He does not. Alexander will remain on the course as well. And the strategy for Barreto and Stover going down the toilet a little bit here. I just don't know why you would pull that strategy, Cotton. It is a bold strategy, Cotton. I just don't think it's going to pay off for them. So a couple of drivers had some issues coming down the pit lane. We see some more skid marks, more than we're accustomed to. And now, Barreto under fire for the majority of the GT Lamar field. Yeah, nobody's coming down. I just don't understand why these guys would come down. I guess maybe they are playing the long game, but we're under 10 laps to go, and these guys mathematically can make it to the end on fuel. So I just don't get the rationale of why they would come down the pit lane, as it looks like Stover's, or rather, Palmer's backed off from Stover, but Stover, of course, taking advantage of the fresh rubber. Palmer coming down. Now the frame rate starting to drop here. The gap still 2.5 seconds between Palmer and Ream in the late stages of this one. Nobody's down the pit lane just yet. We'll see if Palmer comes down. We'll see if Ream comes down. If the trend of Daytona plays into the one of Lamar, you could see Zachary Fitzwater come out with this one. But Bavillier coming through the penultimate set of corners. He elects to stay on. It just makes the decision to come down the pit lane even more baffling. Because again, it was a 2-tire stop for pretty much everybody as Harmon fights, not really for position there. He gets lapped by the 36. I just don't get the rationale, especially just taking 2 tires. I mean, if you're going to come down and get some fresh rubber, you're going to want 4 tires. I just don't know if they had simultaneous blowouts because it looked like they were all the same. Just doesn't make sense. You're just running, especially given Brad Stover, the fantastic run he was having. And then just to come down, I don't know, Barretto thought that everybody was going to come down. He's going to try and play ahead. Because Barretto was really falling back in the 14. Palmer starting to lay down a little bit. With 8 laps to go in today's race from Denver. Palmer not wanting to catch up into any sort of lap traffic. Skylar Taylor will get around the 9 of Colin Bear. No retirees from this race aside from Nagora, Durrani, Buchanan, and Brown. 29 cars on the lead lap, 38 of them, or 29 cars are on the lead lap, 38 remain on the track in general. You know, we will see again. I feel like if Bavillier doesn't come down this time by, I don't think he's going to come down at all. Because he got 7 laps to go. It's 21 miles. I feel like these guys can definitely make 21 miles on a tank of gas. And considering that those were the only 2 cars that were not damaged to come down, I think it was just coincidentally they were the leaders. But nobody from Daytona is coming down. Nobody from Le Mans better be coming down. Really just doesn't make sense here for why those guys came down the pit lane. But Palmer, we'll see what their interval is between him and Ream this time by. Palmer, it's the interval now up by 0.2 of a second. So Palmer continuing to close or to open up a gap. And now these guys are just trying to ride to the end here on a weird end of this race strategy-wise. And it looks like the way things are going, Bradley Bavillier in his 4th career start is going to pick up his first career win on the North American Sim Racing Network. Be a heck of a feat for him. But again, he could come down. I don't know why he would come down, but he indeed could. Just don't get the rationale of why Stover and Barretto both decided to come down. You know, because they're not from the same team. They're not even the same manufacturer. The only thread connecting them was that they were just running 1-2. Just one of those things where just NR is just really, really freaking weird sometimes. And my point exactly, Bavillier not coming down. You know, you would think, oh, because Skylar Taylor came down, maybe the Le Mans cars would, but it's just not using logic. I mean, I know I've got the strategy cranked up to 100, but, you know, that strategy, you know, when you're mathematically able to make it and you're leading by 8 seconds, you know, that strategy is just, you would think it's like 1,000 to 1,000 ratings. Especially given that nobody else is coming in. You know, Skylar Taylor was like, screw it, we ball, I feel like. You know, nobody else is coming down for Le Mans. Just really, really weird, man. You know, just really, really smoking weed weird, man. But Palmer continues to lead. He opens his gap by another tenth of a second over the 40 of Bradley Ream. But know what? regardless of how you slice it, this has been a really good run for Bradley Ream, a good run for Felipe Santos and Eric Monaco. The only one who's not having a really good run is Zachary Fitzwater, who dominated the opening stretch of this race, led the first 23 laps, but ever since that pit stop, just the team did not have the correct setup or did not make the correct adjustments, and he finds himself back in third on a race he should have led almost every single lap. Just trying to find a little bit more out of that automobile. Bavillier, meanwhile, continues to lead here. A little slow through the corner, but he is not coming down. I doubt anybody else is going to come down here. With 5 to go this time by here from Denver. There is Stover, who was the race leader, trundling around. 20 will remain on the track. Same with the 40. I can't imagine why anybody would really come down. It baffles me that they made that decision. But 5 laps to go for Sebastian Palmer, who has been in contention for pretty much every single race. Trying to go back to the race at Willow Springs, where Palmer was more towards the back of the field in that one. He was in contention late at Daytona, trying to hit the pit strategy, but unfortunately could not get that one. He was just in the middle of the pack at Willow Springs and finished second last month at Papyrus to Nathan Ormond. But right now, he's about 15 miles away from his first career win on the North American Sim Racing Network. It doesn't look like he's going to catch up to Brad Stover, and it doesn't look like Bradley Ream will catch him either. Battle for fourth heating up between Santos and Monaco. The field just trying to trundle around here. Skylar Taylor in the back. The only Le Mans car to have that wonky strategy. As Bavillier will come around oval turn 4. This time by, he's not going to come down the pit lane. I don't even know where we keep, thinking he is, because he's just simply not. From a logical perspective, he's just not going to come down. Side by side going through. Dylan Matthews will go off course a little bit. But now Palmer, I think he's driving at about 80%. So if he was driving at 100, he would absolutely catch these lap cars with no doubt. At the stripe, Ream is going to be back by nearly 3 seconds. Palmer continues to show the way. Now 4 laps to go. As he starts to catch up a little bit to the 66. Again, nobody having any sort of issues. The only incident we really had was on the first lap of the race. And then, of course, the incident between the 31 and the 22 for Daytona in Turn 5. But it's really just been a race of attrition, as is a race a type of track like this is. A Roval like this, I'd say Daytona is the only exception for a Roval just being complete and utter chaos. But just the way this track is laid out, it's narrow, but there's a lot of runoff, there's a lot of braking zones. It's not nearly as fast as Daytona is, because there's so many just kinks and bends, and it's really the first really grand touring road course. It's the first really road course that we've been to all season, and really the only one we're gonna go to this season, because Mexico City, that's just really gonna be really chaotic. Most Sport is fast. Watkins Glen is ultra fast. Old Spice is like Papyrus. Thornton is really fast with its differing sections. Bridgehampton is lightning fast. Barber is going to be very technical, and Riverside is going to be technical. So of the 12 courses we go to, The only really technical ones are Denver, Mexico City, Thornton to an extent, Barber, and Riverside. And it doesn't look like Bradley Ream is going to catch up to this 20 car in the late stages of this one. Bavillier did not come down, and it looks like everything's just going to be open shut here at Denver in the final 3 laps of the Denver Grand Prix, of the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix. But you know, I am 21. I do have some Coors Banquet in my fridge, so I might indulge in this, indulge in some drinkage here. You know, after this one, you know, it 'tis the season for weed. It is in fact 420. But I will indulge in the alcohol portion of this. It's ironic that the race is on 420, and in the great state of Colorado. But nonetheless, got an alcoholic beverage as a sponsor for a race on 420. We love the college humor here that we've got in the North American Sim Racing Network, and Palmer is just putting a spankage on the field. Finally catching up to the Daytona field, but it's going to be too little too late for Bradley Ream to really do anything about it. As one Bradley is in second, another Bradley is in first, or Blake Bavillier rather. Bavillier continues to stay on the track as Daytona will take 3 to go. Nobody else has come out. And Palmer, this time by, will see the popsicle sticks high in the mile-high sky. 2 laps to go from the Denver Motorsports Park for Sebastian Palmer. It's going to be an even bigger lead there between the 20 and the 40. The 62 continuing to running in third. Everybody keeping it straight. Again, nothing home to write about in this race aside from the opening lap antics we had. It's Brad Stover wondering why his crew chief called him down. Same with Igor Barreto, who finds himself close to last in GT Le Mans, or GT Daytona rather. He is 1 lap down. Brad Stover in danger of going a lap down. So we're about to catch the GT Daytona drivers. The 59 machine a little slow through the corner. Something amiss under the hood of him, of Owen Miles' car. But coming around, GT Daytona will take the 2 to go mark. This time by 33 of Roberto Crown Jr. will take the 2 to go mark, and Blake Bavillier will see the popsicle sticks this time. Just trundling around that corner. It's going to be a bounce back day for the 71, and a banner day for Juan Rodriguez, who's not had a good start to the season. But Sebastian Palmer, through the final set of corners for the penultimate time, will see the white flag in the air. One more time around the Denver Motorsports Park for Sebastian Palmer. Has a 3.5 second lead over the 40 of Bradley Ream. And you can stick a fork in this race. It is practically cooked. But still, 16 corners to go for Sebastian Palmer. He's not out of the woods yet, but just needs to run a practice lap at that. He's caught up to the lap traffic, but it's not going to factor into the event of this race whatsoever. Stapleton goes a little bit wide. It's the only time we've really mentioned him throughout the broadcast. Same with Caleb Rose. Rose with the fastest pit stop for GT Le Mans. We'll have to see who had the fastest pit stop for GT Daytona. It'll be 2 to go for Bavillier. It's a lap and a half to go for Bavillier right now, and it doesn't look like the 71 will catch up to him. That is the closest battle on the track at the moment. And as Brad Stover fights with Alex Lozano for an extra position, Sebastian Palmer will be behind the GT Daytona field, will be at the tail end of the field for the Daytona cars. One last look at Bavillier to see if he comes down the pit lane. It's foolish to think he would. He will indeed stay out. And through oval turns 3 and 4. One more time around through Cartman goes Sebastian Palmer. And he will take it nice and slowly. Lozano will be in front of him, but it does not matter enough. Off of turn number 18, Sebastian Palmer is finally a winner in the Flowmaster Grand Touring Championship. He wins the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix at Denver. And back up in here, the fight continues on for the GT Daytona race. Bavillier with about a 2-second lead, or the 1 second lead, or it is about a 2-second lead over the 71 of Logan Alexander. Alexander a little too far back to do anything about it. Just trying to catch up as much as he can in the waning moments of this race. Through the S's for the final time. Bavillier catches lightning in a bottle here at Denver. Still has 6 corners to go before he can finally take a sigh of relief. 2 seconds back is Alexander. He will finish this race -1 position, but it's still been a great run for him, but even better run for Blake Bavillier onto the back straightaway for the final time. 4 more corners to go. He's already through 1. Now it's 3 to go for Blake Bavillier as he comes around to take Cartman for the final time. He will ease down into it. A beautiful entry and a beautiful exit for the ABC Supply Co. numbered 11 machine off the final corner. Blake Bavillier will take the checker flag. He will win GT Daytona here at Denver. And it's the first win for the Vipers this season. The Corvettes 444 and Le Mans. But it's finally a win for the other manufacturer in GT Daytona. But back up front, Sebastian Palmer will come down the pit lane. A fantastic race by him. Fantastic pit stop. And Palmer will be going to Gatorade Victory Lane here at Denver. Taking a look at your full race results. Sebastian Palmer, Bradley Ream, and Zachary Fitzwater, your podium. Felipe Santos, Eric Monaco, Reggie Fogelman, Blaise Zebratar, Daniel Voiles, Caleb Rose, and Nathan Stapleton, your top 10. George I, Gavinu Sampson, Jaden Russell, Orman, your top 15. Your top 20, Vincent Jr., Skylar Taylor, Owen Miles, Aguirre Sato, and the 6 of Logan Williams. And taking a look at your results for GT Daytona, it's Bavillier, Logan Alexander, Rodriguez, your podium, Legacy Stewart, your top 5, Matthews, Davis, Stover, Lozano, and Barreto, your top 10. And then Nagora, Durrani, Buchanan, and Brown all finishing this race in the garage area here at Denver. That's going to wrap it up here from the Denver Motorsports Park. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's coverage of the Coors Light Denver Grand Prix here at DMP. And we will see you in just a couple weeks' time at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Telcel Mexican, or the Cinco de Mayo Grand Prix down in Mexico City for our 5th race of the season. Already a third of the way through the campaign here in the Flowmaster GT Championship. But that's going to do it here. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's coverage once again. Here are your point standings after race number 4, and from Aurora, Colorado, on behalf of the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright. Have a great evening, folks.